So, hello and welcome to Stand Up for Life Arizona. This is a series of videos where we talk about testimony, education, and we do a deeper dive into the issue of abortion. In today's video, we're talking about testimony, and we have the honor to be sitting here today with Dan Flynn. Welcome, Dan.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fantastic. So, Dan, and I have to say, I'm so excited about this video. And one of the reasons I'm so excited about it is because you're the first male that we're interviewing. Would you think that's different, or would you think that would be the case?
I'm surprised you have found a male.
Ah, I love that answer. Why would that be?
Generally, I've not seen, at least in my walk, men being open to stepping into dealing in the pro-life area, and which isn't an indictment against them. It's just there's been so much, whether it's in the culture or even in the church, where it's a women's issue. Men have been told that they don't have a say in it because they don't have the right body parts. So men have been kind of pushed into the corner, and therefore kind of just given up, so to speak.
What you're saying, though, makes it even more important that we're having this conversation and that our viewers have an opportunity to hear more about you. So tell us a little about yourself.
I mean, in the area of abortion and pro-life, I have been participating in the pro-life world arena for about 2.5 years. I do have 3 abortions in my past. The first one when I was 18, and then 2 in my early 30s. And during that time, I was not walking with the Lord. I had grown up in the Catholic Church, and then had stepped away, and I don't think those abortions helped me get back. So the more I stepped away, the more I kept moving away, even to the point of mocking and acting out like that. But through His providence and people praying and things like that, when I was so it's about 15 years ago, I guess, I lose track now, came to Christ, and that started changing everything in my life, and started walking with Him. Tried to be obedient, sometimes better than other times, and in very early 2022, I audibly heard Him tell me that my next ministry, my next place was in the pro-life world.
That's awesome. So, having gone through these experiences as a young man, was it something that you thought about? And the reason that I'm asking this is because I haven't heard a man's perspective. And not being the one who's actually going through the procedure, how did you process that?
So I was the man that said, I'm going to support whatever decision you make, and not wanting to own the decision, not wanting to think that I needed to carry the consequences of that decision. I knew it was wrong every time, but that didn't change the fact that I was at best not going to stop it from happening, and at worst, depending on this particular situation, even to the end of promoting it. I was the transportation, and if there was money required, I was the bank, and so it was a very matter of fact, I would almost call it transactional. I tried not to internalize it because I knew then I would have to deal with that.
Tell me about the work that you do today in terms of your work at the Pregnancy Care Center.
Well, I've been blessed with a lot of opportunity at the Pregnancy Care Center of Chandler. I almost accidentally showed up one Saturday when The men's program was just getting started. It was the initial meeting of the initial volunteers of the men who volunteer today at the Pregnancy Care Center. And over the next couple of months and couple of years, I've been asked to join the board and stepped into the director role over our fatherhood program when that became vacant. And I also help in our education side, and which has been really where we've got some amazing opportunities to engage men one-on-one and get to know them and help them be prepared for fatherhood. And we've even had marriage counseling sessions where we've stepped in and tried to help parents. I guess I wouldn't really mean parenting sessions, but they were married, and there was a disagreement among them about parenting styles. So I guess it's kind of both, but it's way more than I ever thought it would be. I thought, well, I had no idea actually. I came back from a men's conference for CareNet, where the call to action was go find a pregnancy resource center in your community and volunteer. And so I did, and having no idea what that meant. I had no idea that I would also spend time in the counseling sessions, meeting with women and men, helping them understand what their options are, letting them know about the love of God and Jesus and all of the amazing resources that we have, and how we don't just give you a pregnancy test and maybe an ultrasound and send you on your way, that we're here to walk with you, to prepare you before sometimes, but mostly during and definitely after pregnancy. We're there. We have babies every Thursday night. We have, sometimes it's a madhouse, but we had 4 young women who were all due in the month of July.
Oh my goodness.
And they've all had their babies and they're bringing them back. And so we now have, infant night, and it's really rewarding.
Oh, I can just imagine. So one of the things that you said that I want to go back to is the just the perspective of the man basically saying, I will support whatever decision she makes. What do you say to men out there that may be viewing this video about that decision?
When we hear that in the counseling rooms, when I'm in a room or any of the other men who volunteer are in the rooms, and we're engaged with the father, and we've come to an understanding that there might be a pregnancy here and he might be a dad pretty soon, and we ask them how they feel about that, and try to get a sense of what their plan is. And when we hear those words, these days for us they're trigger words. And so we take the opportunity to kindly, lovingly, but very forcefully kind of play that back to them and tell them what that really means, which is really that they're abdicating their role as protector and provider for their children, and that the message that they're sending to the mother of the baby, who's at that point in a different room or might be in the middle of taking a pregnancy test, is actually hearing from him, I'm really not going to participate, or I'd really rather you kill our baby, or anything but parent. And those are powerful words.
Yeah.
And I would say to anybody who feels that way, it's like I said, it's the role of the man is protect and provide, and we need to do that. And in this day and age, if we don't do that, we will continue to lose the culture.
Dan, the first time I met you, you spoke and you said something that I never forgot. And what you said was the strongest, maybe the word wasn't strongest, but it was the most powerful voice in that room is the voice of the Father. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think probably what I said was the most powerful voice to the mother in her decision-making process is from the father of the baby. So if she's getting affirmations and encouragement about parenting, if he's stepping into talking about marriage if they're not married, if they're, he's committing to be co-parenting depending on their relationship. Whatever he says has an 80% weight in where she gets to in her decision. So if he's saying whatever you want, that's telling her a very specific message.
That is just astounding. Never really thought of it that way. When we talk with women who have had an abortion experience, one of the things they talk about is how kind of nobody knew, or very few people knew, and it was sort of a secret for them. Was it the same way for you?
For a long time. The first one, I think 2 people knew about it, and the other 2, only myself and the mother of the baby knew about it, pretty much up until 2 years ago.
So what was that like, kind of carrying that piece around?
Well, it was one way before I came to Christ, and then another way after. Before Christ, it was very easy to put abortion on the political shelf and look at it from, I don't have an opinion. It's a political decision. I got nothing to say about it. When I came to Christ and clearly understand what abortion is, not that I didn't before, but now I had to face it head on, I just didn't want to. I didn't want to talk about it. If abortion topic came up, I would, kind of hide in the flowers and just wouldn't participate. If it was mentioned, I just couldn't.
Was it too painful?
Somehow, I don't know. Somehow I just had, no, it wasn't painful. It was unresolved. I had, because I had never dealt with it. And understanding that all my other sins had been forgiven. This is one that, whether he forgave this one or not, I didn't accept it, even if that's a possible thing. So I was still carrying it regardless of everything else, and until I went through the healing process.
So it just felt too heavy for God to take that and forgive it.
Yeah, it was too much. It was, God forgives all my sins except that one.
Yeah. There are viewers who are watching this who have had sons, brothers, maybe even fathers who have been through this process in terms of having had an abortive experience and being at that place where you were. How would you recommend that a man seek post-abortive healing and help over that hump?
There are programs available probably from every pregnancy resource center. Not all of them actually have a program for men that I know of. We kind of keep tabs on who's doing what. But the most important thing would be to get connected to a center that does offer a post-abortive healing program. They're 100% private. They are scripture-based, and I can attest that they are probably the most freeing 8 or 9 weeks that a man in this situation will ever experience.
So I guess my question, Dan, is what brought you to the point of seeking healing, post-abortive healing?
Well, like I said, I didn't think I needed it, and then also didn't know there was such a thing. But when I chose to volunteer, the Pregnancy Care Center of Chandler has a policy that anybody who volunteers at the center who has abortion in their past either has already gone through a healing program or goes through our healing program. And so in 2022, I was led through the program by a godly man, and like I said before, the most freeing healing program you can ever experience. And one of the kind of the peaks, I guess, the mountaintop, so to speak, I was struggling so much with getting to the place of accepting forgiveness. And we were probably 6 weeks into the 8 or 9 week program, and I did a lot of writing, which is good, and a lot of it is required by the program. But the more you kind of journal, I found that the better, the deeper I was able to go. Mm-hmm. And so it's at the point where I understood that I had a very significant barrier to this acceptance of forgiveness, and the facilitator had helped me scripturally, and I could totally understand it in my head, right?
Yeah.
So I can intellectualize it, but I could not find the feeling of it. And I was sharing that with my wife the day after one of our sessions, and she reminded me what it says in Romans chapters 8. In we are new creations in God, and it just made everything right. I am not the same man who participated in those abortions 30 and 40 years ago, and everything, like it was like Paul's scales falling off. I don't want to over dramatize that, but it was the chains fell off, and everything has really been different because of that.
Look how he's used your life with other men who have been through this experience as well. It's really astounding. So you are at the Pregnancy Care Center, mm-hmm. and are there other men who work with you?
There are. We have 4 other men currently, mm-hmm. And thankfully we also have a man who recently volunteered, so we hope to get to the place of getting him through our training program so he can begin his volunteering with us. But yes, we have 4 other men currently who are doing client advocacy, so they're meeting with our clients, meeting with men, fathers of the baby who are coming in, and they're ready to sit down with any man and talk about the fatherhood needs and anything they need.
Fantastic. You know, if you would, I would like to ask you to do one thing before we end our interview, and I would like for you to look into that camera, and I would like for you to talk to a man who may be feeling like you did, in terms of, God can forgive me for all these other things, but this one thing is just too much. Could you talk to that man?
So you might be sitting out in the chairs or in the pews of your church seeing this today, or you might be at home because there was a link offered. And you might think that there is actually no way to truly get into the game of being a committed and obedient Christian, because you're carrying around this sin that you don't think has been forgiven, and that you're not healed. And I would just encourage you and pray for you to seek the blessing of healing, that you would reach out to us at the Pregnancy Care Center or any other resource that offers these types of programs, and get connected, and at least have the first conversation to understand how this can truly transform your walk with the Lord.
Dan, it has been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
Getting to know
Appreciate
you
it.
and having you share your experience that I know will reach so many others. I just can't thank you enough.
You're very welcome.